Stories shape how we see the world. Voice of Witness is an award-winning oral history nonprofit harnessing the transformative power of storytelling. We work with individuals and communities impacted by injustice, helping them document their lived experiences through oral history, telling their own stories in their own words. In an era of reductive sound bites, we need this kind of nuanced grassroots storytelling to create a more just future. Visit voiceofwitness.org/learn to get involved, check out our workshops, and download tools to support your own project. Join us in building a more connected world, one story at a time.
Hi, I'm Rashmi Sajani, founder of Girls Who Code. Look, I'd consider myself a pretty successful adult woman. I've written books, founded 2 successful nonprofits, and I'm raising 2 incredible kids. But here's the thing. I still wake up wondering, is this it? And if the best years are yet to come, when's that going to start? Join me on My So-Called Midlife, my new podcast with Lemonada Media, where we're building a playbook for navigating midlife, one episode at a time. Each week, I'll chat with extraordinary guests who've transformed their midlife crisis into opportunities for growth and newfound purpose. At some point, we all ask ourselves, is there more to life? I'm here to discover how to thrive in my second act, right alongside you. My So-Called Midlife is out now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Lemonada.
Hello and welcome to Good Things. I'm your host, Maya Rupert. Immigration has been a hot-button issue in the U.S. for a long time. It played a huge role in this recent presidential election, and it'll continue to be a part of the public discourse. But what's often missing from these discussions is hearing from the immigrants themselves, the actual experts, about their lived experience. Our guest today is Luz Hernandez. When Luz was 14, she left her home country of Honduras to cross the border into the U.S. She was fleeing poverty, physical and sexual abuse, and medical malpractice. She shared her powerful story in the book, Solito Salida, Crossing Borders with Youth Refugees from Central America, which is published by the oral history nonprofit Voice of Witness. Through storytelling and taking back the narrative, Luz uses her words and story to help people understand complex issues, counter erasure and stereotypes, and support movements for justice. Luz, welcome to Good Things.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Truly, thank you so much for joining us. So I'm very eager to talk about your journey and your story and the life that you've made for yourself. But honestly, first, I want to talk a little bit about the Bay Area because I understand you live up there. I'm from California originally. I actually went to Berkeley for law school. I know you got your master's there as well. So I just wanted to start off and love up the Bay a little bit. Is San Francisco home to you?
It is. I've been living here for more than 13 years, so I consider San Francisco my home. I know traffic is horrible. Some people hate it because of traffic, no parking, but I would consider this is my home. I love the weather. I love that it has a lot of places to go for hikes and walks. The ocean beach is really close, so I do go there a lot too. So it has a lot of beautiful places to visit.
Yeah, I miss it. It was a great area, and it felt like very much one of those places where you feel like it's a community.
It does. I have been working in San Francisco for so many years, so I know the community pretty well. I have also been working so much and going to school, and there's so many cute places that I want to explore. So, I started doing that.
Very cool. I love that. So, California is actually where you first arrived when you got to the States when you were 14. I want to talk a little bit about why you left Honduras. What was going on in your life that made you know that you needed to leave? It was time to leave.
Yeah. So I grew up with my mom. My parents got divorced when I was born. We live in this very poor community. And the person who raised me the most was my grandmother. But my grandmother sadly passed away when I was 10 years old.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she was my world. Until now, I still,
What was she like?
she was, when I think about my childhood, the first person that comes to mind is her. That taught me how to be a kind person, how to love, how to be respectful to others. She taught me so many values in that short period of time of my life.
Yeah.
Until now, I still carry those values. She was very sweet, very gentle, hard worker. She would work 3 jobs in order to support my mom and her grandchildren's. Very hard worker for sure. She was very protective of me for some reason, and she was very close. And when she passed away, unfortunately, I started getting sexually abused by family members, including my stepfather. So her passing away was a big change in my life. It was very hard not having her around. Many things happened after that. But yeah, I was getting sexual abuse. I was the one who had to leave the house. I started working when I was 11 years old. I got sick, misdiagnosed with lupus. I couldn't come back to my mom's house because that person, my stepfather, was still there. My dad was living here in the U.S. and he went back to Honduras. And I begged him to bring me to the U.S. because even though I had my sisters, I had people that I loved so much there, I didn't feel that I could continue living there in that environment.
Right. And I hear that you had to leave in order to survive. And before we move past this, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And I just want to express both that, but also the incredible generosity that it takes for you to tell this story. Because I think, unfortunately, what we know is that this is not a unique story. It is something that happens to people. And every time someone is able to tell that story, it empowers other people. And so I just think it is so powerful that you have been willing to share this piece of your story. And I think it touches a lot of people.
Thank you.
So you made that decision to survive, to get out of that situation. How long did it take you, that journey to the U.S.? And when you look back on those days, what are the memories that kind of stick out to you the most?
The journey, when we think about the U.S., going back, me as a teenager, I will think about the U.S., this amazing country where all the dreams are going to come true. And, I was excited. I was sad and excited at the same time. But I never thought that would be so hard. I mean, the journey is only one step to that dream, that we all had. And it took 30 days to get to the U.S. We crossed the borders, passed through Guatemala, El Salvador. At some point in Guatemala, these guys came and put a gun in my head, on my sisters, too, on my dad. They, searched all our bodies. So that was the first traumatic experience, in the trip.
Yeah.
Having a gun in your head and having a person, hands in all your body, searching for money. The coyote trying to separate me and my sister from my dad. Witnessing people carrying a big backpack of cans and a gallon of water, being exhausted or walking for days. So the journey, nobody talks about the journey, that is so hard. It is very hard. And some of the nights I remember myself sleeping in the desert, just crying, remembering my mother, remembering everyone behind, talking to my grandmother. I would always think that she's there looking after me. And it was very emotionally and physically exhausting. And I was just told to myself, and I would talk to my sister, we're almost there. And the coyote will always tell us, a couple hours more, we're almost there. And that will just continue for days.
Right.
When we decide to come to the U.S., immigrate to the U.S., we come for many reasons. Poverty, abuse, against violence. It's not a choice. It's not an option. We have to, to find ways to survive because there's no ways to survive in our country. So it's just the journey is only one of the things that we had to go through in order to be here and try to achieve our dreams. But once we're here, there's more obstacles to that,
We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more on Good Things.
Interested in the power of first-person storytelling? The Voice of Witness book series documents the oral histories of people directly impacted by and fighting against injustice. Each collection supports historically excluded communities to tell their own stories in their own words. The books feature a diversity of voices, including those of refugees and immigrants, incarcerated people, communities displaced from public housing, farm workers, indigenous peoples, and more. These powerful stories highlight crucial issues and expose the impacts of harmful narratives and policies, laying the groundwork to build solidarity and movements for change. Voice of Witness books are read and used by thousands of educators, organizations, and advocates across the country each year. Visit voiceofwitness.org/read to learn more, access free resources, and get involved. Want more from your favorite Lemonada Media podcasts while supporting the shows that help make life suck less? Subscribe to Lemonada Premium today. As a subscriber, you'll unlock exclusive bonus content like never-before-heard interviews, behind-the-scenes moments, bonus episodes, and so much more. It's easy to sign up no matter what podcast app you use. On Apple, you can just click the Lemonada logo in the Apple Podcast app and hit subscribe. For all other podcast apps, head to lemonada.supportingcast.fm to subscribe. That's lemonada.supportingcast.fm.
The journey is one step, and then once you're here, it's not like it's suddenly easy, right? And in a lot of ways, quite the opposite. Now, eventually you left your father's house and you ended up in foster care. I want to play an excerpt from Solito Solita, as read by voice actor Romina Rodriguez. It talks about your first foster care experience.
So they took me to a house in Roner Park. It was dark, with a lot of masks and deer heads on the walls. The foster woman was from Mexico, and she was kind of old. The social worker introduced us. The foster mom said, "Go to your room." And that was it. The first day she treated me well, gave me food, but after that, she barely gave me anything to eat. She made me clean the house. She put me in summer school, and I passed out 3 times in school because I was starving.
What are your memories of having gone through that? The foster family, they didn't feed you. That had to be so confusing, so scary. Can you just talk a little bit about your memories of that time?
Yeah. So can you imagine, coming from a different country, not knowing anything about foster care? I don't remember a social worker or someone for the agency explaining the process of what's going to happen, and going to the house, like a very dark house with a stranger people. And she's been in that room. Like I can remember that room, only like a small window. That's all the light that room had. It was like I was in prison, and to think about like me fleeing another country and hoping to have a better future, and being in a situation where I was like starving because that person will not feed me or will not give me anything to eat during the day. And to think that she will say, this is normal, this is how foster youths get treated. And if you go to another home, you were going to be treated worse. And I believe that, as someone who just recently came, from another country, didn't know anything about the system, I believe her. And I stayed quiet. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't seek for help. My social worker also didn't speak Spanish. That was a huge barrier.
Wow.
How do you communicate? How do you seek for help?
Absolutely.
And you don't know the language. You don't know the system. You don't know your rights. I didn't know my rights. I was scared. I remember being scared in that house. And I had a friend from Hayward coming and visit me, and that person will bring me food. and my foster parent would get upset. I was not expecting that experience to be put in that situation. And I would say that that experience was one of the reasons why I decided to become a social worker.
Yeah. That's incredible that you can be for someone else the person that you needed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your second foster family was better, right? What were they like? Can you talk a little bit about how you felt there?
Mm-hmm. So this was a couple, and they have two sons. Very friendly, very welcoming. Their room was, with colors. My blanket was pink with some letters. It was so beautiful. Even like the small details, a lot of light, beautiful window with some beautiful curtains. I mean, it felt like home, and they were so welcoming. They took the time to get to know me, like, hey, like, how you're doing? What do you need? Like, what do you need from us? And I think that, we forget to ask the person, what do you need, the youth? Because we make assumptions, this person needs and that, but they don't ask them directly. So I think they did that, and that felt good, feel like, okay, they want to know about me. They want to know who I am. Not a number, not another child, not another foster youth, but who is Luz. And that make a huge difference.
That's incredible. And then you became independent when you turned 18. You left the foster care system. Can you talk a little bit about what that shift was like for you?
It was a very, very scary shift, living in Santa Rosa with my foster parents, having, parents to be there for me, to take care of me. But I also, wanted something bigger. I wanted to go to the big college. I have inspirations. I wanted to go to university. And I knew that if I would stay there, I would not do that. So I decided to emancipate from the foster care and came to San Francisco. The same week that I got to San Francisco, I remember crying when I saw my foster parents leaving. And I would tell to myself,
wow.
You got this, Luz, you got this. And then same week, I was able to get a job at Safeway as a full-time, and I was able to enroll in City College. We go to school during the day, and now we work during the night.
Wow.
At some point, work became more important because I needed to survive.
Yeah.
I needed to pay rent. I needed to feed myself, pay bills. So I was working, and I was able to find like lower income housing, and that way I was able to like go to one job and just have one and just focus on school too.
Now, tell me about kind of what you do now, because what you're sort of describing this process, I know you recently got your master's degree, right? So you clearly stuck with it, you got through it. Can you talk just a little bit about that process of kind of going from what you're describing to deciding to actually go and get another degree?
Yeah, I knew that I want to get to the top. I was like, Luz, we're going to go to the top. Doesn't matter how hard it is, but we're going to get to the top. I was in City College for 5 years, taking ESL classes for 3 years, and then I took the regular classes for another 2 years. And I was able to transfer with honors. And then I transferred to San Francisco State University, where I got my bachilleratos. And I was able to graduate from there too. And I took a break of two years to focus on the work, doing community work, working for the church department, helping incarcerated parents to have visits with their kids.
Amazing.
But while working there, I decided that I need to do more. I want to advocate in a different level. And I also knew that I wanted to, be a social worker. I had it after I moved from that placement. I had a new social worker, and she was kind and she listened to me. So, that person also inspired me to become a social worker. And to become a social worker, you need a master's. And I decided to go back to school after 2 years. And yeah, I got into UC Berkeley and just graduated last year with my master in social welfare.
Amazing. That's incredible. And I mean, part of your experience is what motivated you to want to do this. How much does that show up for you now when you're working with kids, when you're working with families? How often do you kind of draw upon your own experience? I imagine it would be constantly.
Yeah, especially when we have unaccompanied minors, minors that come without their parents.
Yep.
And we get those cases. So those are some of the cases that I like to get because I want to make the process. I mean, just being involved with child welfare is a traumatic experience for everyone, for the person itself, for the minor itself, for the family, for everyone. So I want to, when I get those cases, I try to be empathetic with the youth, with the minor, with the family. I can tell them everything is going to be fine. I'm going to walk through the process. Someone is going to be there with you. I can explain them their rights. You have the right to this and that. If you need help, you can call to this number. So I'm able to, to things that, that my social worker didn't do for me, I make sure that I do it for the clients that now I'm seeing, for the families I'm working with.
Sure. And look, I mean, your experience gives you an expertise that there's no degree that can ever teach, right? I mean, there is the ability to do this job, I feel like it just has to be so impacted by everything you've experienced and what you know.
Yeah, and because of my experience also, like when I meet a family or a parent, when we do investigations of physical abuse or their concerns, I don't ask the parent, what is wrong with you? I ask them, tell me more, what happened? I feel that, because of my experience, I don't judge parents right after. Just because I read something about them, about horrible things that happen, I don't go to their home and try to, oh my God, you're such a bad parent. Oh, what happened? Why you did that? I try to get to know them, and I think that's things, that makes a huge difference when working with families and children. So I try to be empathetic and try to learn about their stories.
And it makes it so much more effective. I know that so much of the work of people who are doing child protective work is hurt by the fact that if someone's going to come in and judge your family, judge your parents, people are less likely to reach out. Like, what you're doing is making it so that you can better serve families, which is so, so important. Okay, hold tight, everyone. We're going to take one more quick break, and we'll be back with more good things.
Hi, I'm Emily Deschanel.
And I'm Carla Gallo, and we're excited to tell you about Boneheads, our new Bones rewatch podcast.
I played Dr. Temperance Brennan.
And I played Daisy Wick, and we are going to watch from the very beginning.
We're going to watch the episodes. We're going to reminisce. We're going to laugh. We're going to cry. We're going to tell behind-the-scenes stories.
We're going to go on tangents.
A lot of tangents.
So whether you're a seasoned Bones fanatic or a newcomer looking to dip your toes into the wild world of forensic anthropology, this show is for you.
Boneheads from Lemonada Media is out now wherever you get your podcasts. Want a sneak preview of hot new audiobooks? Then check out Your Next Listen, a new podcast from Lemonada Media and Simon & Schuster Audio. We've got everything: the hottest new thrillers, best-selling celebrity memoirs, and swoony romances. And these aren't tiny clips either. They're entire chapters you can listen to. Your Next Listen is out November 11th, wherever you get your podcasts.
The contours of your life are incredibly staggering, and we've only barely skimmed the surface. And I feel like I could talk with you forever about all of this, but I know there's a lot that we haven't even gotten to explore. Since sort of sharing your life in the book Solito Solita, you've told your story so many more times and on so many different platforms. And I wonder what originally inspired you to want to tell this story.
I remember I was sitting in my English class. I was reading the Underground book, which is another Voice of Weakness book. And I remember reading about this story about this young, person that came to the U.S. and, like, similar to me, experienced a lot of physical abuse, sexual abuse in the home. And I remember tearing up when I was reading that book. And I remember writing an essay about that book. And I wrote about my own experience. And Stephen, the professor, we met and he checked in with me and I started telling him more about what happened. And it was a big deal for me because in our culture in Honduras, we don't talk about what happens in the home. We don't talk to anyone. We just need to keep it to ourselves. And for me to disclose such a traumatic experiences, it was huge. And at some moment I was scared. I was like, oh, what my mom is find out that I'm telling this? What if my family finds out that I'm, disclosing this?
Yeah.
I would be in trouble or like people will not talk to me. But I feel that at the same time, like telling my story, I needed to tell my story. When you have so much pain inside and you hold so much and choose to let that out, it's a huge difference. I mean, I feel when someone told you like, it was not your fault. I'm sorry that this happened to you.
Yeah.
And they don't have to understand, but just to hear those boys is like, okay, it was not my fault. Everything is going to be fine. And I think that hearing that for the first time, with Stephen, I feel such a big relief. I was like, oh my God, I don't have, that heavy pain in my shoulders. And just to having a trusted person to tell what's going on, I think that makes it's just different. And I keep telling my story because we hold so much. And I wish everyone can have a safe place to tell what's going on, to be open, to seek for support. And we often don't have that. And I will continue telling my story until we all feel comfortable about talking about uncomfortable things. Sexual abuse was a big part of of me. And I remember, young teenagers when I would speak in schools coming to me and they would say me, thank you. And they would just look at my eyes and I would be like, I know, I see you. And that's what makes me continue doing this because not all we don't have. I take advantage of this platform because not all of us have access to these. So I feel that I'm speaking for all of those little girls and teenagers who are going through rough time.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like so much of your story is you needed a social worker who was going to see you and see your family and you didn't have it. And you became that. You needed to hear a story to help you be comfortable telling yours. And now you're becoming that. So much of what you're doing is becoming what you needed. And you're describing this as, that the lightness in your shoulders, that has started to be healing for you. Is that healing an ongoing process?
It is an ongoing process. That trauma is always going to be there, but you learn how to move on. You have to decide, which road do you want to be in? I always tell myself, do you want to feel sorry about yourself for everything that happened to you? Or you want to, move on, and fight for a better future, fight for a better life? And I decided, to fight for a better life.
I want to play another excerpt from Salita.
Many Americans think that we come here to take their jobs, to do bad things, to take advantage of the country. I'm not a bad person. I came here to survive, to do better in this world, to help my family and other people. There was no way to survive in my homeland. I didn't choose to come here. I didn't have another option.
As someone who's gone through the journey of leaving your home country in order to survive, coming here, what do you think is the thing that is least understood when it comes to immigration?
The why. I feel that why we're immigrating, right? People were just judging why there's a lot of immigrants coming, crossing the borders, but they will not take the time to get to know the people, what is going on, or what is going on in their country that they're fleeing to another country. leaving your family behind is not an easy decision. I don't think everyone just wanna, flee a different country where you don't speak the language, when you don't have housing, when you don't have family. A lot of people do it in order to survive. And poverty, there's so much poverty and gun violence, and I'm talking about Honduras right now. And I feel that immigration has become a political topic, and there's so many negative stereotypes about immigration, and not about the experience of the people, the reasons of why we're doing it. We come here to help our families, to fleeing for poverty, from violence, to have a better future for ourselves, for our families. Me, as many other people, come to this country and they work hard and hard and hard. They contribute to the community. They pay taxes. They do so much for the community. And I don't see the harm, of coming and trying to seek help, trying to seek for a better life. I don't know what would be of my family right now if I would not come here. I've been supporting my family since I came here. Since I'm 14 years old, I support my family. And because of that, they have a plate of food every day. They have a housing. They have a place to live, to sleep. And I have worked so hard. I have worked since I came here, non-stopping. And, the opportunity for me to be here, to get an education, and to be able to not only support myself now, but also support my other sisters, my nephew, my niece, my mom, my family. That's huge for me. And that's what a lot of people are seeking for, opportunities for themselves and opportunities to help their families.
Right, right. You've lived in the U.S. now for almost 20 years, and you've been a citizen for some years as well. Do you feel at home here? Do you feel like you belong?
Yeah, I do and I do not sometimes. When I visit home, I stay there for a month and I feel eager to come back, that I miss my home and the U.S. is home. I have a strong support network here. I have mentors. I have friends. I have people that are really close to me. But at the same time, when it comes, I feel that I'm still struggling every day. I struggle in a professional level about feeling like that I belong in this society sometimes. I have experience in the workplace that people had told me to go back to my country or to go back to school because I have a thick accent.
Wow.
Oh, how do you got a Berkeley degree if you don't know this and that?
Wow.
So I experienced a lot of those comments and until now. And when I hear those comments sometimes, it's made me think did I even, belong here? Was that something that I have to do in order to feel part of this society? And that's a struggle. That's an everyday struggle.
Right, right. Well, I will just say I am unbelievably grateful that you are here and for the work that you're doing. And I know for you to tell your story, you've had to unpack a lot of trauma. I want to close us. You mentioned having people hear your story and having young people come up to you, look you in your eyes and say thank you, and, feeling like they may have similar stories to tell. If you can talk directly to some of those people who come up to you and feel seen and say thank you and are contemplating telling their stories and unpacking some of their trauma, what would be the advice that you would give to them?
To be kind to yourself. When you're ready, you're going to be ready. And when you're ready, make sure to have a close person next to you, like someone that you feel that you can trust, someone that you know they're going to be there for you. As I mentioned, when I told my story, I feel such a relief, but also a lot of pain. A lot of pain came.
Yeah.
A lot of memories, a lot of why this happened to me. So just be kind to yourself. After you impact something so heavy, make sure that you do something for yourself after. Go for a walk, go for a coffee, do something that, it will be suiting to you. Telling your story is not easy. It's not easy. It can take time. That's why I say when you know it's ready and there's time, you will know it. And just lean into your support network, into your friends, family, anyone that is gonna be there for you.
Yeah. Be kind to yourself. That learning to be kind was one of the first things you listed that you learned from your grandmother. I think she would be very proud of that advice and of everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
It has been so incredible talking to you, truly. Thank you for sharing your time, for being this generous, for being brave, and for telling your story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
You can read Luz's full story in the Voice of Witness book, Solito Solita, along with the powerful oral histories of 14 other youth refugees from Central America. For more info about this storytelling project and others, including education resources and ways to take action, visit voiceofwitness.org and subscribe to the newsletter. This episode is created in partnership with Voice of Witness, an oral history nonprofit that advances human rights by amplifying the stories of people impacted by and fighting against injustice. To learn more, visit voiceofwitness.org. I'm your host, Maya Rupert. This series is produced by Hannah Boomershine and Lisa Fu. Our supervising producer is Muna Danish. Mixing and sound design by Noah Smith. Steve Nelson is our SVP of weekly content. Executive producers are Stephanie Whittles-Wax and Jessica Cordova Kramer. Help others find our show by leaving us a rating and writing a review. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Follow Good Things wherever you get your podcasts and listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership.
Hi, everyone. Gloria Riviera here, and we are back for another season of No One is Coming to Save Us, a podcast about America's childcare crisis. This season, we're delving deep into 5 critical issues facing our country through the lens of childcare: poverty, mental health, housing, climate change, and the public school system. By exploring these connections, we aim to highlight that childcare is not an isolated issue, but one that influences all facets of American life. Season 4 of No One is Coming to Save Us is out now wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you looking for ways to make your everyday life happier, healthier, more productive, and more creative? I'm Gretchen Rubin, the #1 best-selling author of The Happiness Project, bringing you fresh insights and practical solutions in the Happier with Gretchen Rubin podcast. My co-host and happiness guinea pig is my sister, Elizabeth Kraft.
That's me, Elizabeth Kraft, a TV writer and producer in Hollywood. Join us as we explore ideas and hacks about cultivating happiness and good habits.
Check out Happier with Gretchen Rubin from Lemonada Media.